Hello students, and welcome to the first part of our lecture videos on Chapter 9, which is about America becoming a world power. The title is An Emerging World Power, and we're going to be covering the years 1890 to 1917. Now, we're going to be talking about imperialism throughout this chapter, and we're going to start the discussion of what imperialism is. Now, the definition of imperialism is a policy by which stronger nations extend their control over weaker territories. If you can think back to the early part of the United States before we were a country, we were 13 colonies owned by Great Britain. That's called imperialism, when a country goes out and creates colonies. So America started doing this during this time, and not only America, but other countries around the world, and that's why this is called the Age of Imperialism, which is the mid-1850s to the early 1900s, in which many countries around the world were claiming colonies on other lands. So why did this all happen? Well, the number one reason is economics. A lot of the nations in the world were what you call extractive economies, which means these were countries that took natural resources out of the colonies and used them for purposes at home in the home country. Now, the U.S. was the complete opposite of this. The U.S. had a surplus of goods and resources and needed new markets to sell them in. So that's why we wanted colonies. This is completely opposite of the imperialist countries of Europe. Number two, beyond economics, is military strength. A man named Alfred T. Mahan wrote a book during this time claiming that in order for the U.S. to be a world power, we needed a strong navy. And so this was very persuasive, and the government and the people believed in this ideology. And because of this, by 1900, the U.S. had the third largest navy in the world. The third reason for imperialism is nationalism. Now, nationalism is a term that means you believe in your country and that your country is better than everyone else. This goes along with the idea of social Darwinism, which we talked about earlier this year. It's the belief that only the fittest countries will survive and the best countries will naturally rise to the top. And this was used to justify imperialism. This was used by the countries to say imperialism is okay because we're naturally better and we're spreading our wealth and our influence to other places across the world. People also began to apply manifest destiny to the Pacific Islands. If you remember, manifest destiny was the belief that the U.S. was destined to own the entire country from the East Coast to the West Coast. We accomplished that. However, some people took it farther and said we were also meant to own all of the islands in the Pacific Ocean, and this fueled the imperialist tendencies of some people in this country. So those are three steps and reasons for the age of imperialism. Now, how did the U.S. become a world power? We are today, in fact, in 2016, the world's only superpower. But we've been a world power for a long time. So how did this happen? Well, number one, we began to take islands in the Pacific Ocean. In 1853, Matthew Perry convinced Japan to open her ports and allowed us to start trading with them. When we started trading with them and they saw how wealthy and how advanced we were, this increased our standing in that part of the world. In 1867, we took the Midway Islands, and we also signed a treaty gaining Pearl Harbor and Hawaii during this time. Number two, William Seward, our Secretary of State, purchased what is now the state of Alaska from Russia for only $7.2 million. Now, this is extremely cheap considering how large Alaska really is. People thought this was a very unwise purchase and even called it Seward's Folly and Seward's Icebox because they said there was nothing up there worth buying. However, it became a good purchase because later on we discovered there were vast amounts of natural resources, including coal, oil, and gold. And number three, we began gaining influence in Latin America. Now, Latin America includes Central and South America, basically Mexico and all the countries beneath Mexico. We began to gain influence there by trading and doing business with them. And when they saw how wealthy and powerful we were and all the resources we had, they gave us more standing there as well. And we will continue on with video number 2. Thank you for watching.